This is the Film Geeks podcast.
One, two, three.
Is Netflix the next big thing for Hollywood? Will Ridley Scott's Alien live up to the hype? And is Logan a worthy send-off to the X-Men franchise? Inquiring wants want to know, and to tackle these questions, as always, we have Arindam and Anir joining me, your host, Abhishek, on this edition of the Film Geeks podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Film Geeks podcast powered by Indian Nerve. We have a great show lined up for you, but before we go on to the show, how are you guys doing?
Been very depressed after seeing Logan, of course. What about you, Anir?
It's not been as depressing because we finally get to go to the new house. So I've been busy packing, but I was glad I was able to find the time to watch the movie.
Let's get on with the topics of the day. And the first thing all of us would like to talk about is this incredible journey that Netflix has been on. You know, Netflix is basically this outlet where you can watch a lot of media, a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies. But now Netflix has also started to produce a lot of films, and they have become a force to reckon with. Because if you would just consider this, there's a movie which is coming out starring Will Smith as a LAPD police officer. It's directed by David Ayer and it's written by Max, and it's called Bright, and it releases sometime later this year. It releases on December 21st. There's another film called War Machine, which is directed and written by David Michaud, which is based on a non-fiction book called The Operators by Michael Hastings, and the film stars Brad Pitt, Anthony Michael Hall, Topher Grace, Will Poulter, Tilda Swinton, Jonathan Ing, and Ben Kingsley. Again, on Netflix on May 26 in 2017. And the movie which all of us are excited for is a movie called Okja. It's an upcoming South Korean American action adventure film directed by Bong Joon-ho, and it's co-written by Bong Joon-ho himself and John Ronson, and the film stars Ahn Seo-hyun, Tilda Swinton again, Jake Gyllenhaal, Paul Dano, Stephen Yeun, Lily Collins, Devin Bostic, Byung Hee-young, as always, and Shirley Henderson, and is scheduled to be released on June 20th, 2017, all on Netflix. If you thought all of this was not enough, there is a Martin Scorsese film coming out starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci, all on Netflix. So what do you guys think about this recent spate of amazing films and amazing content, or at least what we think is amazing on Netflix?
I think Netflix is the future. I don't mean this as an exaggeration, but they have landed two of the best directors working right now. It's Martin Scorsese from the way past, and we have the future as in Bong Joon-ho. He directed some of my favorite movies over the past years. Like whenever he made a movie in that year, that was among my top 3 movies of the year. He made Snowpiercer in 2013. He made The Host. If you want to watch an awesome monster movie which has a heart, you should be watching The Host. It was made way back in 2006. Also, there's a movie called Memories of Murder. So these are like amazing movies, and Okja also looks like it'll be among them. It has that wonderful creepy vibe which always we get from Bong Joon-ho, and of course it stars Tilda Swinton, whom he had also worked with in Snowpiercer. And after all, we also get Scorsese get the Goodfellas lineup back, and this time I think he even has Al Pacino with him. So I mean, like, how huge is it for Netflix? They've also managed to bag the biggest Hollywood star in the world. We may not like his movies, but they tend to sell, right? So yeah. Will Smith is like right up there, and I was okay with Suicide Squad, but it is certainly not what David Ayer is known for. He made that amazing cop movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. It was like totally awesome. I forget the name.
End of Watch.
End of Watch with Michael Pena as well. That was like fucking awesome.
I'm one of the first people who will admit that I was very skeptical when Netflix announced its plans to come to India. Not that I had said that I'll probably not subscribe to it. I was ready to pay Netflix some money because I really want to support your mediums that are out there which are completely legal, and also that way we can always get fresh content which Netflix is also producing. If you don't pay, you don't get to watch as many movies. Which is also the truth, you know. But I'm very glad that Netflix has actually been very successful in India. They do admit that India is one of its prime markets that is ready to become one of their biggest markets. So in that way, their marketing campaigns have been very nicely placed. So if you remember when we first started subscribing to Netflix, the content wasn't that great. It was bare bones and hardly had anything. It had, even amongst the Indian movies that was specifically out there, they were really bad movies. And if you checked all of them, it would be one star, one star, one star. But now I think their content has become really good. If you check, it's I think it's very much comparable to what I guess the US people in the US get to check on their Netflix subscription. In that way, I think they have a lot of content right now that truly is amazing, and it's amazing also because there's a lot of stuff that I know I haven't watched, and I really want to watch it, and now that we have all of this new stuff coming in, it excites me to know and to know that everybody is the greater Hollywood, diaspora is also embracing this whole new movement, which means that it gives us greater accessibility to all of these movies. We don't have to specifically get into, a wait and watch scene. We know when it's coming out, and we have instant access to all these movies. Instead of us making plans around it, it becomes so much easier to watch. Of course, the only drawback is if you don't have a good home theater system, it doesn't really give you the whole feel that you get when you're in a movie theater. But I think they're doing a great job even otherwise because content is king no matter what we say.
The Indian scenario as well, you have a lot of Indian channels, like YouTube channels, especially people who started off with Indian channels and they have moved on to Netflix-like model. Like, for example, AIB hosts a lot of his programs on Hotstar, or you have TVF who have released an entire channel of their own. They release all their content on their app. And this is a byproduct, a good thing, which has come off the Netflix channel, I think, because Netflix has been so successful in getting their media across, and since people have accepted in such a way that Indian audiences have also come across and have started to realize that this is the model which actually works, and this is a model which will give you uncensored content, which is most important, and this is something which is better than what the mainstream gives you. So I think it's a win-win situation for all of them.
And right now, with all of this, all of the telecom war that is going on, with Jio creating the big mess that is in the telecom industry in India, people have greater accessibilities to all of these mediums. Not only is it Hotstar, be it Sony Live. Sony Live has its own channel. So does TVF, and then there's another one called Woot, which has some. It's mostly Indian content, but it is still great to see that a lot of this is very accessible if you have an internet connection. And now with that war going on, it becomes truly accessible to the greater Indian market.
We also tend to forget that, Netflix is the home for comedy specials right now. It was dominated by HBO, and also to a point, Comedy Central was doing it, but Comedy Central has a problem that they can't play uncensored content during the daytime. So Netflix has been releasing, they'll be releasing the next 3 Louis C.K. stand-up specials. They'll be doing the next 3 Dave Chappelle specials. So that is what I'm most excited for.
And speaking about just from the business perspective, right? Look at the other companies which Netflix has inspired and is going on to inspire. Look at you have, after Netflix's success, you have things like HBO Go, you have the WWE Network, you have the UFC Fight Pass. You have a lot of different companies from different spectrums releasing content online for their online audiences. And this is something which is actually the future. This is the future right now. You have everything which you want to watch. Yeah, you probably have to wait for a couple of months, but then again, everything is at the tip of your fingertips, so as to say. And this is like a film geek or a film nerd's dream come true. And this is something which is brought into fruition by companies like Netflix. And this is fucking awesome. And talking about things which could be fucking awesome, or it could be car wrecks, things like Alien Covenant. And the new trailer dropped this week, and Alien Covenant, which is directed, of course, by Ridley Scott and written by John Logan. It's a sequel to 2012 film Prometheus, and the second installment of the Alien prequel series, and the 6th overall installment of the Alien film series. This is the 3rd installment, which will be directed by Scott, and the film stars Michael Fassbender, Kathleen Waterston, Billy Crudup, Danny McBride, Demian Bashir, Carmine Agogo, Amy Steinmetz, Juicy Smollett, Carly Hernandez, and all of this will be in our screens by May 19, 2017. So it's not very far away. It looks pretty great, but I'm not completely blown away by the trailer. What did you guys think?
I'll be totally honest here. I'm not holding my breath right now because I was doing that for Prometheus, and it was such a irritating movie to watch. It wasn't a bad movie as per se, but it was an irritating movie because you went in with some expectation and it totally changed the whole concept on its head. And while it might be a good movie in itself, but because it was part of the Alien series, I was completely thrown for a loop, which meant that I did not like it at all. There was too much that was going on in that movie. Saying that, this trailer does look interesting, more interesting. It has some interesting casting choices. Fassbender is back. I don't know whether it's in a similar role that he had in Prometheus, but let's see what that is. But the casting that actually intrigued me was the casting of Danny McBride. I seeing him in that trailer again threw me for a loop. He has done some very good roles. The first movie that I saw him was
Any powers?
no, man, not that one. There's a very weird movie, The Fist Fight Back or something like that. It's him as a karate instructor whose wife is having an affair and he has to challenge that guy. So that was a funny movie. So the trailer itself looks good. I would say it looks amazing, but it has enough for me to say that maybe it is back on track and it'll give me what I want, which is another Alien movie.
Honestly speaking, I found it very generic. They were just repeating visuals that we have seen previously in an Alien movie. And the first trailer, if you had noticed, it had that Alien 1 vibe going on, in which they were limited to the ship and they didn't show much of the landscape in which they land and everything. So I thought they were getting the horror aspect back, but then they released trailer 2 and it was an all-in out action movie, Escape from Planet whatever it's based on right now. I didn't like that at all. I thought it would be toned down, but I think Ridley Scott is thinking that bigger must be better. I loved his Martian. It was one of my favorite movies of the year. But and I had high hopes after he had made that. So, like you said, I won't be holding my breath for it. I certainly wish that it will be a good movie, but by the looks of the trailer, it just looks like a generic action movie with xenomorphs in it. We also saw who exactly will be getting infected. One of the prime things that you remember was that the shock value you got from, this person might be infected or this person might be. But over here, okay, this guy is dying, this guy, when they'll be trapped in that room, okay, exactly, it'll pay beat by beat. I don't think it's going to surprise us at all.
We had primarily very low expectations for Logan as well, and that was still trailer 2 dropped, and trailer 2 blew all of us away. And we spoke about this on the podcast. You can always check out our channel at www.youtube.com/IndianNerve for all our previous episodes. And it completely blew us away. The first trailer and the teaser trailer was completely generic, and we were not really excited for this movie. But when trailer 2 dropped and it had that Johnny Cash song, it completely blew me away. And it blew Arindam away. I remember he texted me and was like, dude, this is like the best fucking trailer of the year. Anirban, you were also very excited about this. So let's get down to the meat, to the steak of this episode. Let's talk Logan, ladies and gentlemen.
This is really funny to say because I know you guys know that I have been really busy in the whole moving thing. So I really wanted to catch this and I know I wouldn't have the time today. So what I did was I booked a ticket for last night and this was late last night around 10:30. But I went to the wrong mall, man.
What the fuck?
I had and these guys they let me in. They let me in, and when I reach the door, right, I can't see where the Audi is. I can't make anything out. And I asked the guy, "Where's my free popcorn?" Because I had also ordered for that. And he says, "I don't know, man, because we don't do that here." And I'm like, "What the hell?" Then suddenly this guy comes and he said he'll help me out. And he said, "You are in the wrong theater." I said, "What?" He says, "No, you have to go to that one." So I drove as fast as I could. I missed the first few trailers if there were any, but I just made it just in time. And boy, was it great, man. It's probably one of the best superhero movies out there right now. It's because it doesn't give you the feel that it's a superhero movie at all. The first half doesn't at all feel like that. It feels like a good song, and it's just so amazingly captures everything that we have read and is part of the whole X-Men canon. The Wolverine mythology, if you want to call it that. And it just captures so brilliantly the loneliness, the angst, the whole reason why he wants to be alone and he distances himself from people. Is shown so brilliantly. His struggle with age and his desires to die, all of that, he doesn't have to talk about it because it's so beautifully captured that you understand why he wants to do the things that he wants to do, why he wants to sort of die, and because he has had enough. If you remember, this is the whole thing is this is a guy who's probably lived more than 300 years, and so he's pretty old, this guy, and it was refreshing to see that they have been very true to the whole backstory of how Logan became Logan, how and it was also very nice to see that they actually have given him his original name, which was James Howlett. I don't know if you guys have read the origin story, which was a beautiful, beautiful comic book that came out, the one-shot series, the Wolverine Origin. The whole thing is so beautifully made that it just takes you where you don't expect it to take you. It's the second half is not as great as the first half, I believe, because then it has to go into that direction, but I was really amazed to see that they have been able to cap off the whole series and give a proper farewell to Hugh Jackman in the form of Wolverine.
I had mentioned in my review as well, which I have linked below, so you can check that out. So it was a Western. I did not expect it to be the scale to be so small. Because all the movies which are coming out, which are basically superhero movies, what they're doing is they're trying to go for the huge ending at the end with the explosions and the fate of the world is at stake. They did not do that. That was my entire fear, like watching this movie, because the first half was so perfect. I remember texting you guys saying that, oh my God, the first half is absolutely flawless. If it continued that way, it would probably be one of my most favorite comic book movies of all time. And even though the second half could not compare to the first half, it had set almost impossible expectations for itself. But even after that, I would rate it as the most emotional I have ever felt after watching a superhero movie. That has to be it. It was such a well-made, small, intricate, delicate movie. I love James Mangold for what he has done. I loved his The Wolverine. They did not let him do what he wanted. Exactly. That is why he also came up with an R-rated cut, which you remember had featured his costume as well, though he did not wear it. And over here, they had a wonderful explanation for why they did not wear the entire costumes and everything. So that was quite well done. And after I went into it, the first half was like completely a Western. The entire movie, in fact, is a Western. And these neo-westerns which are coming out, it is like right up among them. So I won't be that surprised if this manages to get a few Oscar nods. It was quite funny. The first scene that I saw, it was an old white man getting, hit by some illegals. So I thought, is this a right-wing political movie sort of thing? And then they turned it on its head. Because and one of my friends, Anubhav, also posted a lovely update after seeing the movie. I'll just quote him directly. It's love seeing a former civil rights activist come out of retirement and fight an evil corporation to ferry illegal immigrants out of a post-Trump USA. This was like amazing. And it had those political overtones throughout the movie. But I just loved what James Mangold did with it.
It's a known fact that I'm a huge X-Men fan. I mean, more than any other. I mean, I was into Batman and the DC universe and a little bit of the Marvel universe. I got into serious comic book reading in 1999-2000, and my first comic book, my introduction to serious comic book art, or as comic books as a serious form of storytelling, came through the X-Men cartoons. I remember Arindam and I my love for comic books drew from the X-Men, and that's why X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 are two of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Like Arindam mentioned as well, this was so emotional to watch because as far as our cinematic knowledge goes, we have always associated Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. This guy has always been there, and this is his last outing as that. We've always associated earlier Bryan Singer and now James Mangold with the Wolverine films, and this is the last time that they're going to be involved. More importantly, the story, mild spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry if you haven't watched the film, but you should really owe it to yourselves. This is Wednesday, but you should have watched the movie earlier. But the way Wolverine's death is handled, that hasn't been handled as masterfully as James Mangold has in this medium. It hasn't been handled as well in the comic book medium. The Old Man Logan storyline, which we were all expecting, it's not there. It is a completely different take with a little bits and pieces from here and there. But the Death of Wolverine storyline is one of the best that you will ever watch. You owe it to yourself to go and watch this film. This is an emotional bit of work. This is someone who completely understands the character, and which brings me to the next point. There is this kind of complaint which a lot of fans have, that Marvel movies, there are no stakes involved. With the exception of Avengers, of course, and the exception of a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, with the exception of these two, majorly these two films, there are not a lot of stakes involved, and DC just has forgotten to make a good dark and gritty film, and this was dark and gritty, and this is how it should be made. Do you think this lives up to the hype? Do you think that this is how dark and gritty films should be made? And do you think Marvel will incorporate this in the upcoming films?
I don't think so. Because Marvel is earning money and they are making good movies. Just because we are criticizing them for not living up to their stakes and all, I don't think they are going to deviate at all from what we have been given till now. I still believe that the Martha moment was better done in Civil War. They had almost 10 movies going in and creating that. That was the maximum of emotional highs that you get. Maybe, yeah, because I don't think many people cared when Batman failed to save that chick from getting burnt along with Harvey Dent, right? Right. So that was the maximum, like the emotional high that was achieved till we got to see Logan. Also, how good was Patrick Stewart? It was a revelation. I knew he was funny, but this was on another level completely. I know Abhishek was expecting his best friend Magneto to turn up and save the kids, but I think it would have been a letdown if we saw a new Genosha over there again. Because if they had changed the name from Eden to Genosha, and people who read the comics might have gotten it already. Also, how good was X-23, man? That girl, just through expression, she didn't have much dialogues at all. And she just carried the entire movie, and you did not feel bored. There was a major complaint among people, and I'm pretty sure it'll be among the younger audiences who went in expecting Logan hai to faadu ekdam action hoga and everything. But they did not get that, and I was so fucking glad. They did not. We saw the Berserker Wolverine, we saw everything, we saw how Wolverine should be done, and he did not turn it into an entire slugfest. It was a drama movie. It just had that moments of quiet rage, and the quiet rage, especially, it was done wonderfully by the actress who played Laura or X-23.
Because if you are familiar with the material, you would know that X-Men is more or less a character study. This is a comic series which is so steeped in social commentary that it's difficult to move away from that of what they've established over the years. So this is why this movie is the best X-Men movie since probably the first X-Men movie, because it was the first ever superhero movie, and that's the only reason why this movie is a perfect X-Men movie. And even though it's a Wolverine imprint, and as we all know, as all comic book fans, fans know that the Wolverine bit of the X-Men comic books are the best X-Men comic books. So this was a perfect microcosm of what a Wolverine story should have been dealt with, and this is the movie which all hardcore comic book or even Wolverine fans have been waiting for. This was just a perfect storm of what makes Wolverine great. This was a perfect storm of what made the first two X-Men movies great. This is what the comic book fans have been waiting for such a long time, and I'm really glad that we finally have a perfect X-Men film.
Agreed. This is a perfect X-Men movie, and not just a perfect X-Men movie. I think this is one of the best superhero movies out there, and there cannot be too much debate on this. I was sitting in the hall, I was thinking this is dark and gritty, and this is exactly how it should be. It left you thinking about the movie. When you usually go to watch superhero movies, until unless you are somebody who is involved in the whole comic book universe, you don't give it too much thought beyond the actual storyline. You're not giving a thought to the characters themselves. In this movie, you're actually forced to think about them as Logan the man rather than Logan the X-Man. So it becomes so deep in that sense that it's beautiful to watch, and I think that this should be the way that superhero movies are made. As soon as I said that, I think that it shouldn't, because people are going to try again and again to do this. And if you know DC, they're going to try doing the same thing, and they're going to fail. And I hope they do not. They should find a different way. But saying that, going back to one thing that, do you think that what lied across the border was not Genosha or Eden, but it was actually Alpha Flight? I kept thinking about what was. So think about it, man.
Abhishek just told me that yesterday. What if Alpha Flight turns up because it is Canada?
So yeah,
Dude,
they are.
you have-
Come on, man. They are the one entity that is totally part of the Canadian government. So they are sanctioned. They're legal entity, right? They are not operating outside the law. So it would make sense why they cannot cross over to the American side and save those kids. But once they come, the kids cross over to Canada, it makes perfect sense that they are within their jurisdiction to sort of kill those reavers.
This makes perfect logical sense, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with this being the actual explanation as well as to why they just couldn't go across the border and get them, because they have the power and they have the military support as well with them.
And it ties in well with the X-Men and the Wolverine mythology as well, because if you know your comic books, if you know your Marvel history, and if you know your X-Men history, you would know that Wolverine started off as a member of Alpha Flight.
Also, when you talk about endings, I thought they would be spoilers for the comic, but they would be bringing in that Wolverine would be the reason why, the reason that he's hiding this way is that he had lost his will to be Wolverine since he had killed all the X-Men himself. But over here they turned it around and made Patrick Stewart the reason for that to happen. Did you guys feel that the movie derailed the moment, there was that Sita or Gita moment with the other Wolverine turning up?
I was really expecting, instead of X-24, I thought there was another SX's Alkali Labs or whatever. They had their gene, and I thought Wolverine had a son as well. So I was expecting Darkin there, but thankfully it was not Darkin. That's not the way they went, and that's not, because I would have been really disappointed if it went into brother versus sister at the end when X-23 fights the clone Wolverine. I would have been a little more disappointed there, but I was really, I was okay with it. It was not a major gripe for me. It was fine, because you needed to have that to have the story go forward. So
I'm so glad they did not spoil it in the trailers. There was the money shot of the two Wolverines looking at each other. If it was DC, I'm pretty sure that would be the ending shot. Oh my God, two Batmen fight each other.
How the hell are they finding that much adamantium, man? I thought this was a very, very rare element, and it seems like everybody has adamantium.
Bring yourself back to X2, you would know that Alkali Labs and even Nathaniel Essex's lab, from that timeline, they had a lot of government backing. So that's how I would imagine that they have a lot of access to a lot of these material. That's my only explanation to it, actually.
Yeah, I think it's rare as well. But maybe because it's 2029, maybe they found a way to synthesize it and make it artificially.
Probably, because if you see at one loophole, which is a glaring loophole, and which one member of the Film Geeks brought up, that was Riyabaki yesterday when I was speaking with him. He brought up that when Silver Samurai cuts off Wolverine's adamantium claws at the end of the Wolverine, that was James Mangold's last outing with Hugh Jackman. He says, how the fuck does he get his claws back? Bryan Singer actually explained it by saying that Magneto actually synthesized adamantium and gave him his claws back when he had to travel back to the past. Let's talk about some more explanations which you guys will provide me. Let's talk about Easter eggs. As much as the other films, this film did not have a lot of Easter eggs, but it had a few ones, and the few Easter eggs that it had, they were very, very, very satisfying.
One of the definite easy ones to catch was the Alpha Flight one for me, because there was a lot of reference to Canada and crossing over the borders and everything. The other one was Donald Pierce and the Reavers. He even uses some of the same dialogues that he uses in the comics itself. which he uses this slur muti quite often. If you remember, that's what he calls Caliban when he gets up and catches him again. The third one was obviously when the movie ended and he's sort of Wolverine, Logan is dead, and these guys are giving him an eulogy. The kids are giving him an eulogy, and X-23, she starts to say a few lines. So the when she's spouting those lines, then I realized what she was doing. What she was doing was she was saying the same lines that was there in the movie that she and Xavier were watching in the hotel in Las Vegas, which was the movie Shane. And this is something that I think Hugh Jackman has also referenced, and he said that there are a few movies which he has taken to be the reference point for Logan as it is, and Shane being one of them. The last line from Shane being there totally fits the role in there, which is a Western where people sort of don't leave this guy alone, and it's a nice way to put it in there.
Some of the Easter eggs that I found were like the obvious ones, like the Statue of Liberty reference. That was like from the first X-Men movie, and they see that when I found you were a cage fighter. So that was like the first one, which was a very obvious one, I thought. Then also another one is that they mentioned the Westchester incident. Westchester is where the Xavier's Institute for the Gifted is based. So it's probably, I think, he had one of those episodes due to which some of the mutants, they died over there. There was another one that I had found. Yeah, right, the dog tags, which was pretty obvious. And of course, there was that sword right above his bed, which was the one that he got in Japan. You know, there was a moment when he was in the camp with the kids. I really thought that they would be making him some makeshift uniforms and everything. That would have been cheap, but at least we would have seen him in the yellow and the blue thing. Because in the comic, that's what he's wearing, which she refers to, right? The comic that X-23 is seeing, and she says that, this is where all my friends will be.
For some reason, I watched it twice in one day. Okay, I watched it once by myself because that's how generally I like to watch all the films I'm looking forward to. And one I watched with a couple of friends. The first thing which I noticed was watch the movie again. If you watch the movie again, you would see the name on the gravestones. The first name that comes on the gravestone, the first name which comes is Peters, which is, I think, is an obvious reference to Evan Peters, the actor who played Quicksilver, who kind of died in the last movie. The other reference is to Steve Rogers. The second one, for that matter, was the adamantium bullet from the X-Men Origins. The adamantium bullet, which of course was shot in the head by William Stryker at the end of the piece of shit film that was X-Men Origins Wolverine. That was there, and the Donald Trump wall, of course, is there. His name is referenced, which was amazing for all the hardcore comic book fans out there. James Howlett was mentioned. The Caliban actor change, in fact, there was a different actor which was used. This brings us to my theory, which is the alternate timeline. I think this is an alternate timeline, and this has been corroborated by James Mangold himself, who has said that the timeline is a little bit different from the end of Days of the Future Past. And that actor has, of course, changed, and it has been portrayed brilliantly by Stephen Merchant as Caliban. I think Xavier being the most powerful brain in the universe, him having ALS, that was a brilliant touch. The obvious references to the New Mutants. You in fact had Richter in the movie, and Richter, obviously, if you know your comic books, if you know your X-Men history, Richter is a member of the New Mutants. So I think this is where the franchise is going. I think they're making a New Mutants spin-off, and I think this is the way to go, actually, because if you have to appeal to the young adult audience, which I think Fox should do, because they already have the 18 to 35-year-old demography with Deadpool. If they have to appeal to the 16 to 18-year-olds, I think this is the way to go. They should get on the board with the New Mutants franchise.
Let's just start with what they have already established. They have X-Men Supernova coming out, which I really, really hope that Jennifer Lawrence says that I've had enough of it and I don't want to be a part of, because she was the I don't like her to be the leader of the X-Men. I don't want her to be such a because her character does not deserve to be such a prominent member. It's very irritating because I don't think Jennifer Lawrence is that good of an actress to be given that much amount of role, because she was just mouthing a line. She wasn't acting in the previous two movies. Also, I think New Mutants is where the future should lie. As I had mentioned in my review, again, X-23 is too good of a character to waste for just one movie. I was really hoping somehow that there would be a post-credit scene in which Cable steps down and asks X-23 for her help, and that would be how she comes back to our present timeline. But that evidently isn't happening anytime soon, because Cable will be featured in Deadpool 2, and that is another universe in its own. So I have no idea where they're heading with it, but I certainly hope that we get to see her in future movies.
So the beautiful thing about the X-Men universe is, unlike other superhero universes, this is one area where anybody can have any power, and you just don't have to limit yourselves to what powers you can have. I mean, you can create new ones, and that's the thing that intrigues me about this franchise, is that you can go ahead and do that and create this new mutants with superhero powers that people cannot imagine them have, even imagine that there can be something like that. Of course they can't, but what I'm saying is that it won't ever come to your mind, and that sort of is where they should be taking it. And it's not necessary to put all your eggs in one basket and sort of say that Jennifer Lawrence is the end of it all, and let's just put her in a very important position where she becomes the leader of the X-Men, because she doesn't fit into that character truly. And I know that while this is something that only fans of the comic books will support, probably because in this age, I think there are a lot of people who actually relate Mystique now to Jennifer Lawrence's character rather than what she truly was in the comic books. But that's the price I think we have to pay to introduce all of these beautiful characters and these comic book universe to the new generation, which is sad, but then that's the reality of things.
I was the first to watch this movie, Among Us, and I did not look up anything online relating to the post-credit scenes. So probably because it was Fox, I was expecting one. So midway between the credit scene, the projectionist, he stopped this thing completely. So since I was at the extreme back row, so I started shouting at that guy. That guy popped his window up, he opened the window and he said, what happened? I said, there's a scene at the end. I read it in the internet that it's there. So he played the last 10 minutes completely. He did not skip one part. I sat through the credits again. And then at the end, there was nothing. I sheepishly just walked away, So after that, I was very disappointed because I was certain that Deadpool is there. And again, but if Deadpool came into that movie, it would have taken me away from whatever Logan had evoked in me, because Deadpool did not belong in that movie at all. And then I read that Deadpool had an extra scene filmed and they showed it before the movie. So that was a genius move on their part. Nobody saw it coming. It leaked yesterday. So it would be awesome if you guys shared your thoughts on it as well. We saw the about 2-minute clip which came out. So what did you guys think of it?
Yeah, you're correct. I'm absolutely correct that it would have taken away from what the movie was trying to portray and what the movie was. I mean, it made no sense. Yeah, probably if an old Deadpool would have welcomed the New Mutants to Eden and would have welcomed them to Alpha Flight, that would have made a lot of sense. But apart from that, I don't think Deadpool actually belonged in this universe and does belong in this universe. In fact, even though he may fit in this continuity, I absolutely love the new Deadpool teaser which is out. You guys can definitely check it out. It's there online. You guys know where to find it. Just go and check it out. Anyway, if you guys can be a little patient, the trailer will drop in a couple of weeks.
I haven't seen it. Yes, I haven't seen it.
Definitely check it out before it's taken down from everywhere.
There are many reasons why I haven't seen it. One of them is lack of time. Is that the one with the really the phone that has been captured on somebody's phone. Is that it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I tried watching it on my phone, but for some reason, because I didn't have my earphones with me, just started watching a few seconds, and because I couldn't hear anything, so I just said I'll watch it later, and I haven't gotten around to doing so.
This is live right now, but Ryan Reynolds just released the official short movie. It's called No Good Deed. So that's the Deadpool scene.
Makes sense.
See, Ryan Reynolds, I think Ryan Reynolds was this guy watching this movie, and he's the one responsible for releasing all these trailers online.
Well, there is a definite theory out there that he was the one who released the first teaser trailer that resulted in the Deadpool movie.
He's almost like boasted online, like during Comic Con as well. I won't tell, but his initials are R and something like that. He had mentioned it in Comic Con San Diego, and the crowd lost the shit during the Deadpool fan itself.
This brings us to the close of the Logan discussion. Before we move on to Off the Track, let me ask you this final question. Do you think Deadpool will make an appearance in the New Mutants film? If at all there is a New Mutants film, and if at all there are future X-Men films, do you think Deadpool will make an appearance in those films?
He's too big not to make an appearance in my... he won't make one in Supernova though, I'm pretty sure. But if they're making a fringe movie, something like the New Mutants, something like that, I'm definitely sure that he'll be appearing at some point or the other.
You keep talking about Supernova. Can you give us more details about Supernova?
Supernova, there are no details online. It's just, I think it's going to be the Dark Phoenix saga that is going to be adapted again, in which Jean Grey, we saw her unleash the Phoenix Force within her in X-Men Apocalypse, but I think the Dark Phoenix, in the comics at least, the Dark Phoenix sees Jean Grey, and she is this powerful force of nature who comes down from space and invades Jean Grey's body, and it is one of the best storylines that was ever written for the X-Men. So I think Supernova is going to adapt that. It was unsuccessfully done in X3. They totally retconned that movie, so I think we're going to get a better version this time around.
So that being said, let's get on to our next segment, which is Off the Track. So just to give you guys a brief insight into what we do, is we talk about the different various things that we watch or we read. So Arindam, what have you been reading?
I was on a Logan high, so I went back and I read Old Man Logan in the evening itself. I just finished it before the podcast started, and I have to say, if you loved Logan, go out and get this book called Old Man Logan, which was adapted as a movie. It is nothing like the books because since it is a Marvel comic, you have all the great characters in it that you did not see in Logan. And it is written by Mark Miller, and it was drawn by Steve McNiven. It's one of the most entertaining stories that you'll ever seen. So ever read. So do check out Old Man Logan by Mark Miller.
So not much viewing was done this week from my side, but I have been rereading Neil Gaiman's American Gods because it is one of the best stories on mythologies and the ilk that there is out there, and I love Neil Gaiman. He's one of my favorite authors, and that includes both novels as well as comic books and graphic novels. What I've been watching is Taboo, which stars our favorite Mad Max, and it's very off the track TV series.
Future Wolverine.
Yeah, actually, he's a great casting, isn't he? Because he faced the height requirement as well. In it, he plays the same gruff character that he's sort of consigned himself to playing, but he does it so well. I don't know how he does it. He sort of plays the same character, but it's a different character every time, and he's gone very great at doing that. So you should watch it because it's a little bit different, but it's about this one guy quest against the East India Company, and who doesn't want to see that?
Right, and it comes to my recommendations, and I haven't been reading a lot this week because I've been caught up at work, but I would recommend a couple of comic books that you guys can check out. The first one is the 2010 Marvel imprint called Uncanny X-Force. It's been written by Rick Remender, and pencils by Jerome Opeña. This is basically the Suicide Squad of the X-Men universe. This is something which you guys should definitely check out. This is an amazing comic book. It is very guttural, very brutal, very violent, and it has an amazing story. And it also stars Wolverine and Deadpool in the same team, and they go out and take out Apocalypse. This is something which you guys should definitely check out. And the second thing which I've been checking out for the past couple of days has been X-23, the complete collection. It's been written by Cry Kyle. This is a collection of different iterations and different appearances of X-23 in the X-Men comics. The origin of X-23 is handled here, and her various adventures as a member of the Avengers and as a member of the new X-Men has been handled in this comic book. So this is something that you guys should definitely go out of your way and check it out. It's called X-23, the complete collection, volume 1. It's available on Amazon, and we will have the link down in the description below. And this brings us to the end of this episode. And you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/IndianNerve, on Twitter at twitter.com/IndianNerve, on Instagram at instagram.com/IndianNerve, on YouTube at youtube.com/IndianNerve, or you guys can visit us and read all of our amazing reviews by Aditya, reviews by Arindam, and all of these various things that they watch and they review. You can check all of that out at www.indiannerve.com. I'd like to thank all you listeners out there for your support, and please like, share, subscribe to our channel, and please share this video among your friends. From all of us here, wherever you're listening, we hope that you're having a great day, and may the force be with you always.